The world is undergoing a seismic shift, and the future will look nothing like the past. For the past 70 years, the world has been dominated by US global hegemony. After World War II, the United States created the Swiss system for banking. The US dollar became the largest foreign reserve currency, and the US has been imposing sanctions on any country who does not fall in line with US strategic interests. But what if I told you there is a new alliance emerging that has the potential to change everything we know about the world order? This new alliance is called TRICS, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down what this new alliance means for you and me. But before I do, I want to tell you about the #1 way that I now research global news. Everyone, this is Ground News, which is the first news source comparison platform. Instead of using multiple websites to check important news stories, Ground News compiles all of the world's media stories into one place. And here's the amazing part. It tells me where the bias is in each article. For example, let's take a look at the war in Ukraine. On the bottom of each article, it shows me if this story is from the left, from the right, or balanced in the middle. And by far, my favorite feature is the blind spot section. For example, let's say that you only read stories from the right side. You no doubt have a bias. So go to the blind spot section and discover articles written from the left perspective so that you now have a more balanced view on every topic. If you want to stay informed on the important global issues facing our world, simply go to ground.news/Cyrus and sign up today. Everyone, prior to 2022, the world has been enjoying a blissful period of economic trade and peace, and that's been primarily because of three main reasons. The first is that the United States has used cheap immigrant labor to fuel our powerhouse economy. The second is that China has been producing cheap goods, which helped them become a global superpower. And the third and final reason is that Russia has been selling cheap gas to Europe, which has been fueling the European economy. All of these arrangements were a match made in heaven. The EU paid euros for cheap Russian gas, the US paid US dollars for cheap Chinese imports, and Russia and China dutifully recycled their earnings into G7 claims. All sides were entangled commercially as well as financially, and as the old wisdom goes, if we trade, everyone benefits and we won't fight. But like in any marriage, that's only true if there is harmony. But when trust is gone, everything is gone. And that's exactly what has happened in the world today. Credit Suisse strategist Zoltan Pozsar recently published an investor letter entitled War and Interest Rates, where he states, with the rise of China and Russia, countries around the world have alternative suppliers of development assistance, military security, and public goods. Countries now have exit options from US hegemony. As China became a global superpower, it wanted to build 5G networks around the world and make cutting-edge semiconductors. But the United States has sanctioned Huawei and forced Western allies to boycott China's 5G network. In addition, the United States is actively cutting off China's access to the world's most advanced microchips. The result is that the US and China are now going through a messy divorce. Both sides don't want to talk to each other, and the US-China relationship has dipped to its lowest level in the past 50 years. Russia got very rich selling cheap gas to Europe, and Germany got very rich selling expensive stuff produced with this cheap gas. However, in response to Russia's invasion into Ukraine, Germany is now canceling this deal. Germany and Russia are also going through a messy divorce, with the new German Chancellor Olaf Scholz claiming partnership with Putin's Russia is inconceivable. Things are also quickly changing in the United States, as our country deals with the highest inflation level seen in 40 years. Cheap imports from China and Russia have been a staple of the US economy, in addition to cheap labor from new immigrants. But US politicians want to decouple from both China and Russia. In addition, there is a massive labor shortage in the United States. As we see in this Business Insider article, the US is missing over 3 million immigrant workers, contributing to a massive labor shortage, all due to policies passed while Trump was president. Economies are shifting around the world, and there is an interesting alliance forming that will force the US allies to rethink their long-term strategies. Industry experts are now focusing on Turkey, Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea together playing tricks on the global world order. The idea of this alliance will immediately send shockwaves through the Western world. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Putin's first visit beyond the boundaries of the former Soviet territory was to Iran. Putin's visit to Iran came days after US President Joe Biden visited Israel and Saudi Arabia and pledged that Washington would try to stop Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. The Ukraine war has offered a new opportunity to Iran to strengthen its ties with a major global superpower in Russia. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that Iran is sending hundreds of drones to Russia, and both countries are also cooperating in the fields of space and cyber science. Turkey is also hedging its bets. It is using its veto power over Finland and Sweden's membership in NATO to play the Western alliance. Turkey has also refused to follow Western sanctions, and in this Reuters article we learned that Turkey has doubled Russian oil imports, filling the EU void. Earlier this month, the New York Times shared that according to US intelligence, Moscow is seeking millions of artillery shells and short-range rockets from North Korea. And the final piece of the puzzle is, of course, China. Elizabeth Economy, author of the new book called The World According to China, argues that Beijing is aiming for a radically transformed international order, in which the US is in essence pushed out of the Pacific and becomes merely an Atlantic power. We see this unfolding before our eyes as the US and China are entangled in an intense conflict over the future of Taiwan. But China is moving more cautiously and thinking long-term. In contrast to Iran, China has kept a safe distance from the mayhem in Europe, hesitating between supporting or condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Even India, a longtime ally of the United States, is not a neutral participant since it continues to benefit from the cheap Russian oil despite Western concerns. So what do these drastic changes in the world order mean for you and me, average citizens caught in the middle of this massive geopolitical conflict that has really spread throughout the entire world? Well, if trust amongst countries drove globalization and globalization drove a thriving world economy, distrust will drive deglobalization, and the result will be rising inflation, rising cost, and a large economic crisis for the majority of the world. The United States is not exempt from this, and as an American citizen, I'm concerned about our future world just like everybody else. But I must be honest with you, I think it's going to get a lot worse in the short term. I'm sure many of you have seen these recent YouTube videos claiming that China's economy is going to collapse in 27 or 34 days. Most of these are sensationalized videos that are produced just to get views. Don't get me wrong, China is facing major economic challenges, but the world can't afford to have China's economy fail. Our global supply chain is too dependent on China. Likewise, the world is not prepared for the disaster that is brewing in Europe right now. How will Germany get through this coming winter without access to Russian gas? Finally, how is Joe Biden and the Democratic Party going to bring down inflation and create a more affordable America? China's economic pain is not just limited to China. Around the world, inflation is rising, commodity prices is rising, and the cost of living is rising. And more people simply feel that they can't get ahead. Despite the grim outlook for the future of our world, I will always be an optimist. People call me crazy when I say that the US and China can learn to work together, but as this new TRICS alliance emerges, maybe it's time to forget the global hegemony and focus on ways to get back to working together in this truly global economy. The best option is to do your own research, stay informed, and that's why I'm so excited to partner with a company like Ground News. Make sure you take advantage of today's offer and go to ground.news/Cyrus, and that way you can stay informed with the latest news and understand where the bias is in our media today. Everyone, my name is Cyrus Jansen. Thank you so much for spending time with me here on YouTube. And if you enjoyed today's video, I know that you are going to love a brand new Patreon experience that I recently just launched. Let me tell you all about it. Everyone, I have some exciting news. With the success of this channel, I'm expanding my team to bring more value to all of my Patreon members. We have some big plans to provide you with more information and news about the US and China relations. This will include more exclusive interviews, extended version of my YouTube videos, live Q&A sessions, and much more. With your loyal support, we can really be able to provide you guys with some amazing information and news. So if you aren't a Patreon member, you'll miss out. Simply click the link below and sign up today. And I want to thank each and every one of you who watches my videos. All of this would not be possible without your amazing support.